Ellie, do you know, were there any entries into the oral communications this meeting?
There were not.
Okay, so we will pass through that unless, does anybody have any oral communications?
Sorry, Linda, real quick, a community member messaged me that the streaming isn't happening right now, and I just wanted to check.
Okay, I did send, who did I send? Luis Zamora the link, so he should be, and he's not on here, and he's usually on. Lucas, do you know what's?
Yeah, it's streaming fine for me.
Okay. Oh, I will respond to this person to that effect. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Lucas. So it looks like we have 16 people on. Great. All right, and so does anybody else have any other oral communications that they'd like to pass on or bring up that is not on the agenda? All right, so moving on. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
I move to approve tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Allison. All right, all those in favor of approving tonight's agenda, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any discussion? All right, so the meeting agenda has been approved. Do people feel comfortable with approving last meeting's minutes, or do we need another session since people weren't aware of where they were? What do we think? You want me to throw them up on the board?
I just read through them quickly and I felt like they're okay, but it was a quick read. So
yeah, I read through them quickly too, and I didn't have a problem.
The only thing I noticed, my last name was spelled wrong in one section.
And Mr. Bogle, I believe that's a repeat error on my part there. No, nothing personal.
That's good. All right, so anybody want to make a motion to approve last month's minutes?
yeah, I can
Going
if
one?
anyone else wants to.
Thank you, Dawn. Do I have a second? Okay, do we not feel comfortable approving the minutes for last month?
Well, you can do discussion, I guess, before
Okay,
voting.
You want to discuss the minutes, or?
Was it seconded? I wasn't here.
No, it was not seconded.
Yeah, I can't
Well, you would
remember.
second and then discuss.
Well, we haven't even seconded, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We would need a second before we discuss.
Yeah, so it looks like you guys want to push off approving.
I'll second, actually.
You'll second, Barth? All right. Do we have any discussion?
I just haven't gotten to see them. Is there any way anybody could put a link in the chat or something?
Yeah, Ellie put a link in the chat.
That did not get me to minutes. It was a meeting transcript.
Oh shoot! I'm sorry, I've got the wrong thing
Yeah.
linked there. Let me grab the last one.
No worries. Thank you.
That one should work now.
Yep, better. Thank you.
All right, so do we want to put off approving minutes until the end of the meeting?
I think it's a better idea to do that.
Okay, so let's move on to old business. Barth, if you want to take this over.
Okie doke. So we had some good discussion last time about the bylaw change, adding a student representative. I got positive feedback from the SURF representative responding to all of our questions. Our main one, I think, was, is this just for a single like senior or individual, and they are on board to have this as a permanent member for the TAC, and SURF will supply a member throughout, every year, and have that part of their, their mission. So I think everything was addressed from our previous questions, and I think I'd be willing to make a motion unless we want to talk about this some more. But
Can you just say, are they hoping this is going to be a voting or non-voting? Like, do they have a real strong opinion about that?
they would like, yes, they would definitely like to have the voting membership, but they are willing to fill it also as a non-voting. I would put it in as voting because I think we're being more inclusive, and it is starting to match more of the committees that have student representation. And TAC is kind of morphed from parents not getting any information from the district committee into a pretty collaborative group of parents and staff. So having some student input would probably help us moving forward. So.
And for the other committees, have we found it to be reliable for them to show up, that it isn't going to mess with our trying to get a quorum?
I have no information on that.
Michelle?
Yeah, question is, going back, actually looking at the minutes, it looks like we had two different
Motions?
motions. Thank you. Looking for the word. Two different motions. One that said unanimously. The second one was unanimously not to have a voting, and the first one was a 7-3 vote to have voting. Am I correct in that is the same question? It just had two different things going on?
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
so the proposal was to have a voting member, and I suggested that we try having a non-voting member to address some of the concerns that we had about meeting quorum, et cetera. And so that's why there's two.
Okay, thank you.
Is it correct? The motions were just made that way so that we could continue the discussion of both. Isn't that right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't like a final vote on what people prefer.
It was testing the waters. It's kind of
Okay, I have a question over here.
Go ahead, Gautam.
The question is, what do the students bring onto the plate of a TAC? The TAC is an advisory board, and it's mostly dealing with what the advisory, on, as far as I understand, is from the TAC perspective, is at the higher level. Now, the fact is we have teacher representatives, we have got a lot of different representatives. Is there a point, and when you're looking at the student representative over here, what are they bringing to the table other than just listening to what we are saying? And if you're saying that they are just bringing in their, how they're using it and whatnots, why is it that the teachers, or they are not passing it through a particular chain of commands? That means that there is no chain of commands on how these things should flow.
Gautam, I'd love to answer that. I'm the teacher rep, and I was ironically the person who said maybe they should be non-voting, but I think the advantage of having a student is they are the most important, well, along with teachers, the most important end users of any technology that we make a decision about. And they would know it's difficult for the few of us who are teachers who are on this group to advocate for students at every level in every school. And it would be desirable maybe to have students say, according to our members in our group, this is, actually in most classes, they're not using XYZ, or they are, or whatever. So even though I was an advocate for not letting them vote, I do think it's a different voice than just the teacher voice.
True, but let me just go on the devil's advocate side. How do one student how do one student gather the inputs from all other and say it in a way correctly? Because if you're just talking about different levels, then you're talking of increasing the participant. That means there should be somebody from elementary school, somebody from middle school, somebody from high school. And then you're just multiplying the efforts, because the reason is, depending on the type of technology people have in their schools, the usage is there. And it's not just the usage of providing technology in the school, it's for the teachers to use them appropriately. There are schools who has technology in their school, their technology in their rooms, which they're not using it because the teachers are not trained or teachers don't want to use it. And the students can't say anything against why they are not being allowed to use those features. Now, I don't think that the students, and this is my opinion, but I'm not listening. I don't think the students are very interested in using all of the technology that is available for educational purposes only. And I have had cases where I'm telling you, this is my personal experience, where the teachers were just guarding the technology and not letting the teachers use it, the students use it, because they thought they were, and there have been cases of where they brought in things which are not desirable for the school environment. So it goes both ways. But the fact is, how are you ensuring one student representative is going to speak for the whole student community?
I agree. Michelle?
Yes. When I was reading this at first, I went, "Oh no, they really shouldn't have a vote because, there a lot of they go in and out." And the more I thought about this situation, is that to align it with our committee, where you're looking at a 2-year commitment, I think this is something that at their level, as a sophomore going into their junior year of making a 2-year commitment, it makes sense. You have a carry through then, and that would work for voting. If it's just the 1 year that they're coming in at September and they're basically checking out in the end of May, I don't know if that's really a worthwhile situation of having a vote. Having an audit of getting information, of having a open highway there for information is good, but I think to have a voting aspect to it, I think they should still be within the same type of parameters that the rest of the people on the committee have.
Michelle,
But
just so
Thank you.
I understand on that, are you saying, unlike the current membership, which has a multi-year commitment that they're offering, since the surfboard member would only be on the committee for a single year, that then there's problem with giving them a vote because they won't have that carryover or that multi-year perspective?
Right. My understanding on the surfboard is that, you have ASG that follows at least 4 years through the high school level. If you have something that says this is a 2-year commitment that is for a junior senior, then I would be in favor of seeing them having the vote just like regular committee members. Having just the 1 year coming in, I don't think it gives. By the time a person actually gets their feet wet and they understand what's going on to make, and the information that has transpired already, and get caught up, we're almost at the end of the year again, and they're ready to check out and move on. So, did that
my
clarify
question,
for you?
Okay. Gautam, hold on, Gautam. We've got other
okay,
people that would like to speak. Tom?
okay.
Yeah, I'd raised my hand and I didn't know if that was just a shout out moment or a hold up our hands.
No, no,
I guess
I've got a list going.
okay. I guess the first thing is Gotham says, how would we know they represent? Well, how do any of us know we represent? I mean, there's 2,000 teachers and there's 3 teachers here. Do I represent all 2,000? Of course not. I just get, what I feel is an overall sense. I mean, from the parents, we have approximately 65 to 75,000 parent guardians in the district. To expect the parents on this to represent everybody, that's just not reality. I think the most valuable aspect of having a student on here is the intent, at least my impression, is from their user standpoint, just like I try to present the teacher user standpoint, or Ann presents the CSA users. So, to say that they're going to know all of the viewpoints of all the students, that's probably not a reasonable expectation, more than all of us are. But I think that they, from a user standpoint, those students that are participating would doing that they have, you know, used the technology. And I would disagree, got them that most of the students that I work with are using it within the classroom environment for educational purposes. Now, what they do at home on their own time, I can't speak to that. But in the classroom environment, they're using the tools that we provide them. And I'm not sure how their off-curricular activities would affect that. I've worked with the surfboard on a variety of issues. It's a highly motivated, very, or I'm trying to not, they're very dedicated to the people that they represent, and they represent themselves well. So I'm in favor of both a representation and a voting representation on our committee.
Can I speak
Okay.
to
Now, but hold on, Gautam, I've got a line here, honey.
That's fine. Sorry.
Don, you're next. You're on mute, hon.
Tom pretty much said what I was gonna say, same sort of things. I also think because they're on surf, they do have a group of that they meet with regularly that they can get feedback in terms of their ability to well represent just, you know, more than a few people. You feel like they have their friends, plus they have the surfboard. So it actually gives them a better opportunity to be able to represent better the students of the district. As far as the little ones, I don't think they, you know, their input is going to benefit this committee. So I do think it makes sense to have kids participate, and I don't think I don't know how it's gonna work as far as, I hear what Michelle said in terms of the carryover. But I think that, like this year, I think the person who wants to participate is a senior, but I think theoretically and ideally it would be nice if it were a 2-year commitment. I don't know how, if that's going to be a deal breaker or not. That's all for me.
I have a quick question. Does surfboard cover all 5 attendance areas, or is it does it have members from all 5 attendance areas?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
it does.
Okay,
They
that's
regularly, they send their representatives back to the high schools with questions. So if they have an issue that's brought up at surfboard, they send them back out to solicit input. So if there was
okay.
something, I would assume they would solicit that from their broad base. Now, it's somewhat, you know, best as best can, but they have a procedure that they.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you, Tom. Lucas, you were next.
Yeah, I think there's some really good points that have been brought up. Just a couple well, one, I would voice my support for having a student, if we're talking about an older student, being a voting member. Obviously, I'm not a committee member, I'm an ex officio member, but I would voice my support for that. Just from the perspective of, as a district, we are promoting student voice. And I think Tom's comment was actually quite relevant in that, you know, none of us really can represent the entire district truly. I do think that
Okay, Lucas, we lost you.
you can probably hear me better now.
Yeah. The
Yes.
last thing you said was that you do think, you said you like Tom's point, but you do think, and then you got lost.
Okay. Yeah, that was really strange. My mic switched from my webcam mic to my laptop mic. That was really weird. So I would say if we have students who are juniors or seniors, I think that there's a lot that they would have to offer as a voting member. I kind of feel like if the students were younger, there may be some challenges with that. The one thing I would mention too, having, you know, just had a senior who graduated and is now in university, requiring a 2-year commitment, there would probably be some challenges with that. Not only do students' interests change, but they also have commitments that change from year to year. And so, and students, of course, can leave the district just like employees can. So I think doing a 1-year commitment, well, 2 years would be great. I think that having a 1-year commitment is probably what's most realistic. I think the other benefit of that too is with 5 different attendance areas, we would have the opportunity for students from more attendance areas to participate.
All right. Michelle, did you have something to say, or did you just have your not put your hand down? Okay, Anne?
I think that having students on the committee is a great way to expose them to our parent and community members who have current industry experience.
Good point. Very good point. Allison?
Yeah, just real quick, I think we should have a student on the committee. My major concern is that we communicate to the student that their job is to try to be representative of everybody, including schools that are a lot different than theirs, and kids all over the district and different age kids, and that they should make an effort to not just think about technology the way it's been used by their own teachers, but everybody's experience, whether that means surveying other kids or whatever. And I just kind of wanted to put that on the record as that's my major concern, is that I think sometimes I'm on committees with adults and then a kid says something and everybody's like, oh, that's the voice of the students. And I'm like, well, as we've all said, it's hard to be the one voice of this very large group. And so that I would request that that student do their best to try to find out what other students think before coming.
Okay, thank you, Allison. Bart?
I think I'd like to make a motion that we accept the first part of the bylaw change, saying to have a full voting member. So everybody at the bottom of our agenda, there's language that says number 3 student member, 1 student representative shall be appointed by the Students United of Representation to the Fremont Unified School District Board of Education.
I'll second that.
So I have a question,
Wait a minute, Gautam, we've got a motion on the table.
but I thought I have to answer.
So did I get, Tom, did I get a second?
Yeah.
Okay, so any discussion? Go ahead, Gautam.
I wanted to talk about a few things before we set up the motion. The reason I wanted to say was, what is the additional load we are putting on this particular student who is going to be a member? Because now you're talking about, he's not only a surfboard member, he's representing here, you're adding some more load to him. Okay, whether it's academic, non-academic, or whatever, that means it can affect his or her affair.
Okay, Bart?
Okay.
So we communicated with the current surfboard leadership, and they said that they understand the different levels of, input and tax on their schedules, and they're willing to be a part of this committee. So.
Okay.
Understanding that they would be a voting member and that they would affect our quorum by not showing. Okay, that's an important piece of this, is that if they are a voting member, they need to be here so that our quorum is met each meeting.
Yeah, and they did write back to my email. I wrote them an email after last meeting explaining the concerns that I had, which were the same that I voiced in the meeting, and they were very adamant about committing to giving us somebody at every meeting every year.
Okay.
So they do
All
understand that. Yeah.
Okay. And Dawn, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that they were the ones who reached out to us and wanted this
Right.
opportunity, and they're going to volunteer and know what they're signing up for. So I think that we don't need to flip to the other side and worry about what we're asking them. They're really asking us, and we're supporting them.
Okay. Michelle?
Yeah, just a quick clarification question. With this, is even though they're voting, can it be subrogated that they aren't part of the quorum? I mean, they give us their input. They do put in a vote, but no,
No.
it's one way or the other. Okay, that's
Yeah,
that's
it's one way or the other.
Okay.
Robert, did you have something?
Yeah, a couple things. Just wanted to, so we have had a student representative on another committee that I'm on, and I know that they want to be there, but people just don't make it sometimes. And they have tests or what. I mean, everyone has an obligation. At that other committee, no one comes. Very few people come to every meeting. And I do want to remind this committee that in the past, it's been very common. Almost every single year, we cancel at least one meeting, maybe two, because of quorum issues. So I think this is it is what it is, but it could be made worse. And on that other committee, I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that student is committed for 2 years. But I'll have to check.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Robert. Michelle?
Yeah, it's one of the things that you can talk to a student and say, this is a commitment. Ultimately, they're going to listen to their parent, and the parent says, you took the car out and you didn't put gas in it, and you're grounded. And I'm not going to allow you to do anything. They're still answering to the parents. And I say that because I've done a lot of theater work where you're trying to get a show mounted. Everyone signs an agreement that says, yes, this is a priority, and you still have the parents pull the mom or dad card. So as much as we try and put things in and talk about quorum, and the kids are in good faith doing what they want to do, remember, they don't have ownership of their life like we have of ours.
Right. Okay. Allison?
I just wondered if we could take this in stages. I know how difficult bylaw changes are, but it might be possible to have a student next year as a non-voting member, and then if they show up to every meeting and everything works out great, then change it so that they're a voting member. I know it would be another bylaw change.
Yeah, but but that's a student by student, right? You may get one student that this year is great, and then we get the next student. I think that's it's not student. I shouldn't say student by student. It's person by person.
I get it. Yeah.
It's so I think it's either we go all voting or we go all non-voting. Bart?
As a reminder, as a bylaw change, we have a higher bar to pass, and this would also only be the first read, so we would have to all vote again for a second read of this exact wording. So if we're anxious about running up against something or not, we will have another chance. That this does not mean it is in our bylaws, I guess I would say, even if we vote
Right,
for
but this is today. It's either putting one or the other in. If we vote for the voting, if we do the voting member tonight, then it's the voting member. We don't have a second read of the non-voting member next meeting.
Fair enough. Yep.
So can we just vote and see where people are?
Yeah, I've got a couple more hands down. I'm sorry. Lucas?
The other comment I would make is that as a TAC, we do have a process for removing members for non-participation. So if we did have, doesn't really matter if it's a student or other member, we do have a process if it looks like it's not working out.
Okay. Anne?
Call the question?
Did you have a question?
No, I said I want to call the question. It means we have to go to vote.
All right. So we're
out of
done
time.
discussing. Yes, we are almost out of time. All right, so we are done discussion and we're going to take a vote. All those in favor of the first read of the adding a student representative, and I'll read it real quick. Number 3, student member, 1 student representative shall be appointed to the by the Student United for representation to the Fremont Unified School District Board of Education. We will add that 1 voting member. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, so we have, okay, so I have Michelle.
Linda, would it be
Gautam.
possible? Oh, if you have it, otherwise I was going to ask,
think
is it
I have
possible to put
I
it
think
in?
Yep, I think I have it right here. Michelle, Gautam, and Robert, you all opposed?
Yes.
Affirmative.
Michelle, yes. Robert?
Correct.
Okay, anybody else oppose? Okay, so
One
we have, I'm
abstain.
sorry.
One
Oh,
abstain.
okay. Come on, also opposed. So we have 4 oppositions and 11 ayes.
Are there any abstentions?
We have 16 on board right now with only 1 ex officio. Oh, I'm sorry, 2 ex officio, so 10.
That's 10
So we have,
ayes.
so we have 4 nays and 10 ayes, yes.
And so that's 66%. Is that considered?
I think that I don't have the bylaws in front of me. Dawn, if you could you look at the bylaws and see if 66% carries on a bylaw change? Thank you.
I thought it was a 2/3 vote. Is that correct? Or no? We should check.
I think it is it's either 2/3 or 3/4. I can't remember.
Okay, why don't you just move on and I'll look that up and let you know.
Who said 2/3?
Allison, I thought
It
it
is
was.
2/3.
We're not sure. We need to finish looking it up.
2/3 under Article 9.
Article 9 is 2/3?
Yep.
Okay. So
10
the
of
motion,
15 carry, or 10 of 15 is 2/3.
yep. So we, hold on one second. Robert, where do you see 13 members?
I was just counting the roster.
We have 16 online and two non-voting members. We have Luis and Lucas are non-voting members. Do we have another non-voting member not online?
Okay, I just saw you showed up twice.
Oh, do I show up twice? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that might cut our thing down then. Why did I show up twice? That's odd.
As a presenter and then as an individual, I think it's a Google thing.
Oh. All right,
It's not
I'm
your
gonna
fault.
stop. Then I'm gonna stop presenting for right now, just so that we
That-
can get numbers.
That fixes it. Yeah.
Okay. So that means we have 12 total. 12 total with 4 abstention or 4 nays and 6. Is that? Yeah, 4 nays and 6 ayes. So that gives us exactly 2/3, right? Almost. So 10. Yeah.
So are you saying you have 9 of 13?
No, we have 10 voting members. We have 10 voting members. We had 4 nays and 6 ayes. So that gives us, excuse me, that gives us
I don't.
exactly.
We should have 13,
We have
13 voting
members.
members.
Of 13. I'm sorry. Why did I get 12? 13. So we have 15 total. 13. So we have 4 nays.
You have 9 of 13.
Okay. Which gives us 0.69. So 69%. So we're just over the 2/3.
Clarification here, just on the minutes, I'm showing 9 ayes, 4 nays,
Yes.
1 abstention for a total of
No abstentions.
no
Did
abstentions.
somebody?
Okay.
No, nobody abstained. So we had 2, Ellie, we have 2 non-voting members.
Okay.
So it's for a total, so that makes it 13 voting members and we had 4 nays out of that, so we had 9 ayes. So that gives us just over 2/3.
Yep.
All right, so by a squeak, we move on to our second reading at the next meeting. All right, so let's moving forward. We have our let's see, TAC board presentation. This was for the January meeting, I believe, to the school board. I'm not sure if that is that still on, Lucas?
Yes, so we were originally going to be at the December board meeting, but the board meeting got very full, and so they pushed us to the January 6th board meeting, I believe. I did not bring the revised presentation tonight, but I was going to share that piece of information. And then in addition to that, I did want to request whoever would like to, if you want to send me qualifications that you have. That was one of the suggestions from, which I've got in front of me here, from the meeting where you guys provided feedback on the presentation. Just know that I am going to incorporate the suggestions that you provided previously. We've just been in the midst of, the student information system, and since I haven't had to prioritize updating the presentation, I didn't do it yet.
No worries.
Okay,
You can
not a
just send
worry.
that information last time, Lucas. I think people are probably fine.
Yeah, I'm sure we all understand how super busy you are. All right. All right, so we will look at that next meeting. Actually, next meeting is, so what school board meeting, Lucas, was that on the 6th?
I believe it's January 6th.
Okay, so our next TAC meeting is the 11th. So this is all going to have to be done online, not within a meeting. Just helping you get that presentation, or getting us that presentation up and running. All right. So our new business, we wanted to go over just the status. I know this is on our next meeting agenda to actually really talk about, but we're wondering if we could just get a status on the technology use agreement that the subcommittee has been working on. So I think, Barth, you can give us some, or fill us all in on what's going on there.
Okie doke. We've been making some good progress with the subcommittee. On the agenda, we attached a document that is the reading of the new policy. And I think the piece to remember is we're just, as a committee, we're just trying to advise the board on what we feel is a good direction for this policy. We're not telling them how to implement it. We don't even know if it will be implemented. We're not saying, Gmail is turned on for all students and go get them, that kind of thing. It's just us trying to do some research and provide some feedback on what a policy would be if we did turn on Gmail. And so I've also started a discussion with the IT group about the questions we had from our subcommittee on issues and other committee questions around Gmail. But I just wanted to get you this document so you could do a one-way comment to me if you do have a chance to read through it, and then I can incorporate that for our January 11th meeting. So just kind of giving you a chance to see it before the meeting, and just make sure you're not sending emails to everybody. You're just sending it to me, similar to what Lucas was hoping probably for the presentation, just to go one direction, not emailing the group, so we don't start a meeting inadvertently.
Start a whole conversation. Yeah. So does everybody see this is, I put the document up Does everybody see the doc? This is the document that the subcommittee is working on. So as Barr said, if you have any comments or questions, please direct them directly to him, so that we don't start a whole conversation now. We'd like to get this, kind of not finalized, but in a state where the subcommittee is happy with it, so that then we can start a conversation of it. So I don't want to start a conversation of it tonight. We do have it on the agenda for the 11th. Ellie, did you have a question or comment?
Hearing just what you said, Linda, just wanted to seek clarification. Is the advisory policy agendized at some later point for the board to review, or are we still many months away from where that would be?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Lucas, do you know when this will come up in front of the board, or?
The information I actually have on that is this still needs to go back to the executive level at the district, and then it gets kind of kicked around at the district level. So there's no current marker for when the board would see this. As I
Thank you.
And who is the executive level at the district? Is it?
That's the business, instructional services, and HR.
Okay.
Meeting with
Okay.
the superintendent.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so this is a good start. As Barth said, if you have any questions or comments, or you need clarification, not understanding something, please go directly through Barth. Don't start a group chat on this, because we can't have discussions offline regarding things like this. So, yeah,
Point
go
of
ahead,
question on
Robert.
that. If BART has a subcommittee, they can email among themselves, just not with the rest of the group.
Right.
Because I
And
think
yeah,
if the
that's right. The subcommittee
Yeah,
is working, but he's opened this up to the whole advisory committee, asking
Sure.
if we as a committee have any comments, and that needs to go directly to Barth, not through the whole committee.
And I will bring those
Okay, thanks.
comments to our subcommittee, which is working from a shared Google Doc and email threads. So thank you, Robert. Good point.
All right. Does anybody else have any? Well, we're not going to discuss it, so I'm not going to ask. Lucas, let's move on to your CTO update.
All right, great. I do apologize tonight. I'm having the most technology difficulties I think I've ever had in a meeting. My speaker stops working, and so I suddenly can't hear you guys. My mic keeps resetting. It's not just
That's
you
because
guys.
that's because you just got back to work, Lucas.
Do you not have any like inroads with the IT guys, or?
I'm going to submit a help desk ticket. Oh man. Okay. Yeah. For those who don't know, I actually did take my first kind of mini vacation since I've started, and maybe my computer is still trying to get back from vacation as well. I'm not sure. So it was good to spend some time with my family here. My son is actually on break from college, and so we spent some time, getting some gifts for the holiday and playing games, and trying to get our crankiness out of us so we could enjoy my time off as a family. Not that anybody else has experienced that, I'm sure.
No, not at all.
Well, I do have a fair amount of updates to provide for this month. Some of these will be repeats with a little bit of new information. Some of them will just be repeats. I want to begin by saying that we have ordered our teacher laptops, and we actually ended up ordering 2,000 of them. We were originally looking at 1,700. We evaluated some of the CARES funding, and we determined that we were going to get 2,000 of them. This will allow us to ensure 100% that every certificated staff member has a new laptop, which I think will be pretty fantastic. It's been a challenge a little bit with the working with our vendor. Even from day to day, sometimes what's available has been changing. But the good news is that some of our teacher laptops look like they're actually going to potentially come in, I believe, this month, which was a surprise. And then the second item that I was going to mention is we are also ordering 3,000 Chromebooks. That was a decision that was made on fairly short notice. And that was to help address some of the schools that are having shortages of Chromebooks, or they're getting down there. We've received some feedback from teachers and also from principals that certain schools are having breakage and they're going to be running out of Chromebooks pretty soon. The good news on that too is it looks like some of our Chromebooks may actually come in this month. Previously, we were looking at January and February for all of these items. So just know these were decisions that we had to make very quickly, and it was made in November. It was after our meeting to make sure that we met some of the deadlines. There was a lot of discussion happening about how we were going to best utilize the CARES dollars, and we knew that there was a need for additional Chromebooks, and so this was one very logical way that these dollars could go. So, and meet the requirement for CARES. We're also ordering, we ordered a bunch of headphones. And when I say a bunch, I think it was like 27,000 headphones. And part of the reason for that was because it is looking like we are going to have to do some of our state assessments online, which is a whole nother challenge that I think as a district we're going to have to wrap our heads around. I really don't know exactly how that's gonna work out, but the California Department of Education is saying that we are gonna have to do our state testing remotely if we are still remote. And so the headphones that we are purchasing, I think they were about $10 a piece, give or take. They were pretty highly rated. They also have a mic with them. So not only will they benefit us for state assessment, but they could also then be used for our students that don't have very good mics on their Chromebooks or their laptop, whatever that might be. Let's see, student information system update. So our SIS, we are right now in the middle of 3 weeks of training for our secretaries, our principals, registrars. Some of you on this call probably have already taken a training. If you haven't, it's coming your way. So these classes are classes that are like basic navigation, attendance, census, scheduling, I think was one of the ones that started today. So we know that when we roll out with the new system, there's going to be walk-in scheduling that's going to have to happen. So that's happening. We are currently scheduled, obviously, to lock our current system on December 18th. So December 18th is the last day where the Illuminate student information system will be used for attendance purposes and some of those other things. So at the end of the day on the 18th, we will be working with Illuminate just on the student information system side to have our data become view only. And obviously the reason for that is because after that point, then we need to have our conversion team take the data and convert that into what will become our official production site. So it's going to be a short turnaround with the holidays. I will share with you December 29th is when we will officially get our production site. So that is going to be the final production site. That morning, there will be a team that includes the technology department, and we will be going through that site and scouring it for about 4 hours to make sure that everything looks good, taking into account all the work that we've been doing up until this point. Assuming everything looks good, which I don't have any reason to think that it won't, then our plan is over the following 3 days is we're going to work on as many of the integrations as we can complete. So when I'm talking about the application integration, what I'm referring to is our special education system, School Loop, the Google single sign-on, which is something I should mention. Some of you know right now with Illuminate, the accounts that we use are separate standalone accounts. When we implement our new system, we'll be using Google single sign-on. And that will mean that you can either use the direct URL and click a single sign-on button, or if you are currently logged into a Chrome browser, in the waffle in the upper right, you'll click on that and you'll actually see an icon for Infinite Campus. What I don't know yet is if it will just take you directly into Infinite Campus or if it will take you to the single sign-on button. I believe that it will take the users directly into Infinite Campus right past the login screen though. So that'll be a nice step forward for us. We'll see what happens. I'm sure someone knows the answer to that on the data team, but I don't actually know right off the top of my head. But that'll be a nice step forward for us. The other programs that we're integrating with are Bright Arrow and of course DNA, which is our current assessment system. The last one I'm going to mention is Clever, and Clever is one of our more comprehensive integrations that we're going to be doing simply because of all of the applications that students and teachers access through that system. So our plan with Clever is to turn off syncing at the end of the day on December 18th. And what that means is Clever will no longer be looking to Illuminate or any student information system at that point to get new students or make changes. So I will be sending out a communication this week to our teachers so that they're aware that they can continue to do their planning which most of our teachers are using Clever applications. They can continue to use their Clever system as part of their planning. When we get back in session, Clever will still be on sync. And part of the reason for that is because we just know 3 days is not going to be enough to get all of our integrations done. We just know it's not going to be possible. So what we're looking at is identifying a date where we would then turn the syncing back on. So we know there's going to be a short window of time where Clever will not be receiving new students. But it will still be.
You said it'll still be on sync. You mean it'll still be on pause?
I'm sorry, it will still be paused, correct.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, so Clever will continue to be paused until we have ensured that the integration is working properly. Yet part of the reason for that one where we want to be extra careful is because we're switching, unfortunately, we're switching from an API model to a new integration model. And it's not one that we've used as much. So we just want to make sure that we've got all our ducks in a row before we turn on our syncing. And we'll probably even be testing it with a single application rather than turning it on for everything, if we can do that. It might require a little bit of, finagling with Clever to get them to allow us to do that, because that's not a normal process. But I want to assure teachers who are on the committee here and teachers who might be listening tonight that Clever will be available for use. Just for a little while, it's not going to get new students.
Okay, Anne, did you have a question?
Yes, Lucas, you stated that Illuminate will, at the end of the day, be turned off on December 18th. Attendance people in elementary and secondary have a major report due that day, and they need to be able to use Illuminate. So communicating what you mean, what the IT team means by end of day is really important.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Anne. I don't know exactly what the cutoff is going to be yet, but I've talked with my data team, and I mean, you probably know Radhika pretty well, and I presume that she's aware of when the appropriate cutoff time would need to be. So our data team may actually know exactly already what time to do it. It might be later in the evening, but we are going to have a cutoff that day because starting on probably the morning of the 19th is when Infinite Campus is going to do essentially their final pull of our data. And that's what's going to go into our production site. So we absolutely can't have changes occurring in the
Right.
student information system after that point.
Right. The report that's due is to budget, audit, and attendance. So,
Okay,
thanks.
thank you. Are there any other questions?
Ellie, did you have a question?
If a new student were to come into the district, say right around the rollover time, does that affect the provisioning of a new account for them, or is that completely separate from the student information system?
So that's a good question, Ellie. Yes, that would affect that student's account provisioning. However, one of the systems, and I didn't really mention, I don't think I mentioned this one, but the system that we use to provision our accounts is called identity automation. And identity automation is, well, it's a system that's designed for data exchange, and it can even be used for single sign-on, a lot of different purposes. But it is the application that we've implemented within the last couple of years that is designed to actually create the accounts in other systems for students, excluding like Clever. So when a new student comes in, the following day, that student will then have an account created for Active Directory and then also for Google. So that's one of the functions of it. And that's one of our high priority applications. Now, is it possible that that may not be ready on January 4th when everybody's back? It is conceivable. So I'm not 100% guaranteeing that we're not going to have any road bumps here, but that's our plan. That's one of our priority applications to make sure that that's working. If for some reason we have to enroll a new student into Infinite Campus and we don't have that functioning, we may look at doing a manual process for that, which there's not. The only downside is that we're doing it manually, right? So as long as we're following the creation methodology that the identity automation system is programmed to use, we can create those accounts, but obviously we want to avoid that if we can.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions for Lucas? Comments? Lucas, are you done? Oh, I'm sorry.
That was
Dawn?
So Lucas, is Infinite Campus not going to be API? Because I thought they said they were API. Is it a temporary thing that it's not API?
No, so Infinite Campus actually does not use an API. They use some other forms of integration. One is simply using straight SQL. So that's one method of doing it with a ODBC connection. And so for some of the applications, like Bright Arrow, for example, that is their standard method when working with Infinite Campus, is to actually have a database to database connection to load records. So that is true. It's not a true API. The other protocol that is widely used in the industry is called One Roster. And so One Roster is what we'll be switching to for Clever. I see you grimacing, Don. Work though, believe me. So believe it or not, I mean, an API is basically SQL programming to make systems talk and exchange data.
Right.
So some of that is, we're going to have to take that on as part of our process. Some of it is a one-time process that we will be working with Infinite Campus to do. So we do have integration work that is part of customization that they're going to be doing with us.
Okay, great. Bart, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just wondering, in hearing that, is there any surprises in this integration that you've been concerned about, or is it things seem to be progressing well? Do you have a top level, thumbs up or?
Yeah, I would say, I think I've mentioned this before, but maybe not with this group. I've been working with student information systems for, 22, 23 years now. And from my experience, this has actually been one of the smoothest data migrations that I've seen. And these protocols, even though it's not an API, I've worked with ODBC connections before. I've worked with One Roster before. These are very industry standard methodologies for transferring data between systems. You know, it would have been nice if it had an API, but that also might be a future thing that we can push as well. California has a really strong user base. And one of the things that already as a group we've been able to do is pushing automatic SACE integration, which is an exchange of our student information system directly with SACE. So I think, you know, with the strength of the districts that we have, we'll be able to push things like an API. We'll see. Yeah.
Great. Don, did you have something, or were you just pressing the button? You're just pressing the button.
I went to lower my hand and I clicked it twice, so it lowered it and put it back up, and then I lowered it.
All right. Well, aren't you glad I'm paying attention?
I am. That's very impressive.
You know, the only thing I would add, I appreciate the question, Bart. The only thing.
Lucas,
Oh,
you just
we
went
lost you
mute.
again.
Lucas, you.
Come on, work with your IT, dude. Nope, we still don't have you.
Okay, I think my mic should be working now.
There you go. Yep, we see you now, hear you now.
USB CTO.
All right. The only thing I was going to mention is just
Oh, we lost you again.
addition.
You're in and out.
Now?
Yeah, you're bouncing in and out.
Okay. I think what the issue
Real quick.
is that I think the issue actually is Bluetooth. The speaker that I use is Bluetooth, and it seems like for whatever reason, my speaker is disconnecting and then it decides it doesn't want to talk to my mic either. So I don't know. I just wanted to share that, you know, this is a mid-year transition and this is actually pretty uncommon. And I've explained historically the reason why we're doing a mid-year transition, but that is part of the reason for this being so challenging. You know, normally we would have at least a month to ensure that our integrations are working. So really, once we hit December 29th, we're going to kind of be almost working around the clock to make sure that those systems are talking. And that's where I just don't want to make any promises that say January 4th, we're going to suddenly have everything working perfectly as expected. You know, we're just going to work as fast as we can. And if I had had any concerns about the integration methodologies of Infinite Campus, you know, it would have been a thumbs down to that system. So it uses industry standard communication protocols. We're not concerned about that.
Good. All right, anything else for Lucas? All right, moving on. Does anybody have anything that they would like to potentially put on the agenda for future meetings? If not, if we could circle back to the minutes for last meeting, is everybody ready to approve those minutes? All right, could I get a motion to approve the minutes for the November 2nd meeting?
We already have a motion and a second. We just didn't vote.
Oh, we didn't have our discussion. All right, so do I have all those in favor of approving the minutes for the November 2nd meeting, please say aye.
Do you want us to raise our hands? Because I know we're going to have people who can't vote who weren't here.
Oh, yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
Might be easier for you to count.
Yeah, but we don't see everybody. That's the problem.
I can see everybody.
You can see everybody's hand? Oh, we could all raise hands. I see. Never mind. All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes for November 2nd, please raise your hand. All right, so we got everybody here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I have 11 ayes. And all those opposed say nay, or raise your hand. All right, so Robert, I think you're the only one that I had that didn't vote.
There were people who
sorry.
weren't here last time.
Did
I know,
Tom
that's,
vote?
Tom
I
probably
think,
didn't.
yeah,
vote.
Tom, did you vote?
I don't think he did.
Okay,
I would be
so he wasn't here last time, all right. All right, so we have, all right, could all those in favor raise your hand again? I'm sorry. All right, everybody in? Kenneth, do you raise, all right, Robert, you weren't here?
I don't have a raised hand on my phone, so yeah, I'll vote for it.
Okay, so Robert's got a raised hand as well. And Tom, you were not here? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12 ayes and 1 abstention, which adds up to 13. All right, you can lower your hands now.
Hey, Lucas, on those computers that you ordered, are they coming imaged or not coming imaged?
Yes, they will, the plan is that they will come in.
All right, so I think we finished. I'm sorry, does someone have something to say?
Just a quick question, Lucas. I didn't hear anything about hotspots. Any update on those?
Good question, Michelle. I actually do have an update for hotspots. We are expecting 300 additional hotspots this next week.
Okay.
Yeah, it got held up with AT&T for, they missed it. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so our next meeting will be January 11th, 2021. Holy smokes, we're actually going to make it to the next decade. All right, so everybody have a great new year and a happy holiday season, and we will see you back here on January 11th.
Ellie,
Thanks,
thank you
everybody.
for doing such a great job on the minutes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.